My M50 wife F49 won't let me have sex with anyone else, and it's pissing me off. Obviously explanation needed. But yes, this is a serious post. We've been married almost 18 years. We've raised a large blended family. Both bringing kids into the mix. And had a fair share of ups and downs along the way. We are genuinely in love and felt we had met the one when we got together. We were both raised in a strict religion, Mormon, which prohibited pretty much anything naughty. A few years and we decided to leave the religion. It simply no longer reflected our worldviews. A few years after that and we were both equally talking about some form of experimentation and or openness in our relationship. It sounded fun, and since neither of us had experimented much in our youths, why not? We agreed to allow the other to take the opportunity if it ever arose, knowing we'd remain together. Our rule was simply no damage to our relationship or anyone else's. Skip forward to 18 months ago. And we had both had nothing more than a few flirty chats with others and gone to more parties than before. A mate M35 of mine had come over a few times for drinks. And one night it got late and I went to bed. I woke up the next morning and my wife explained they had had sex. She was immediately apologetic, a massive thing for her to do, to be honest. But I told her it's okay. I did struggle. And I mean absolutely crushing waves of pain on occasion. The theory was one thing, but in practice quite something else. But we had the agreement. So I went with it. And we spent the next couple of days reassuring each other that it didn't mess with what we had built together. I was determined this wasn't going to end us. It wasn't like she had an affair behind my back etc. After all, I thought, at least maybe I can do the same at some point and it'd be okay. A couple of days later I ran into the guy and he was apologetic too. I explained that it was okay. We had an agreement. He was incredibly relieved. And he ended up coming over again. Before long my wife was asking if I would join in and have a threesome. And so we did. This was the strangest experience of my life. See her have sex with someone else with me in the room. But it happened. And pretty soon she asked if he could come over again. Jump forward a couple of weeks and the guy now basically lives with us. And for about 6 months we are living in a threesome situation. This has all happened without any planning. Just going with the flow. It worked surprisingly okay for much of the time. I got along with him okay. He wasn't trying to replace me. And he loved how open and honest we both were. Surprisingly, the ex worked for both of us. I loved seeing her so happy and so turned on. She had no idea 2 guys was her thing. Ex was almost daily. Only downside is that I felt massive loss. That I had 0 one-on-one time with her. I would occasionally ask for it. And the other guy would leave us together. We'd spend the night talking things through. She'd get defensive about the arrangement. And we'd not agree on a system that worked for both of us. He would go back to his FWB. My wife would get massively angry about that. And the next day he was back in our place. This sequence went on for most of the 6 months. Me asking for alone time with her. He going to his FWB. She getting jealous. And us 3 back together. In 6 months we probably had about a whole week just the 2 of us in total. She also sent me a number of texts while I was at work asking if it was okay if they had sex together without me. She also asked if they could if I was tired and needed to go to sleep. I made the point that they were having sex more frequently together than she and I were. And so sometimes I'd say please no. Sometimes I'd say okay fine. I have no idea how often they had sex without me to this day. While it's true that this guy and this arrangement was her thing, and I often joined in, I was okay with much of it. And enjoyed much of it. But it was much too frequent. And did replace our relationship completely for the 6 months it went on. I did struggle massively at times. And it did not always come easy. I was hurt on many occasions. Particularly when they carried on after I was asleep or when I was at work. Actually, what hurt was that she wanted that. At the time she had been encouraging of me finding someone for myself to some degree. It seemed like a gesture more than anything. Because she and the other guy both frequently said they could not have coped with what I had coped with. Honestly, I was so wrapped up in this thing, I didn't even think about my own playing outside the marriage. The end of the arrangement happened when I became determined to get some alone time for a week or 2 with her, and he went back to his FWB, and my wife messaged him to end it. She said she didn't like just being one of his options. So it ended. As far as I knew. At least. I have some evidence that they may have continued to have sex together for a while. But honestly, I am past thinking about it because, hey, they'd been shagging for 6 months. I ended up getting a job in another town 3 hours drive away. And so she and I moved away together. As far as I know, they've dropped all contact. She says she never loved him. And it was never a romantic thing. I do believe that. Quite a story, yeah. So here we are in our new place, a year has passed. And she says she regrets the whole episode and never wants to talk about it. We're here now. So let's just enjoy us. I have agreed that we've needed time to reconnect and determine our boundaries. But all talk of us not being open has come from her. With time, I've started enjoying messaging someone F35. And despite everything, my wife is becoming very possessive and jealous and kicks off if she catches me texting her. She says we had our experimental phase. That we are no longer open because we learned our lessons. If I bring anything up about the 6 months she had her lover living in our place, she becomes very angry to the point of screaming things at me. She seems to feel that I am only bringing up the past. This was about a year ago to hurt her because she is deeply ashamed of the whole episode and just wants us to be a regular couple now with traditional monogamy the only option on the menu. She has said that I was as much into it as her. So I've had to be crystal on this point. I wanted time alone with her. But I usually didn't get it. She says I only want to shag someone to get revenge. I don't feel this way. But I also feel it's hypocritical and highly unfair for her to have benefited from us being open but not allow me. The same. As ugly as it sounds. It's true that the prospect of me having something for myself helped me cope. So, Redditors, what am I to do? Yes. I can live happily with this woman. I love her. And we work. But I also don't like to feel controlled or taken advantage of. And quite honestly, I am 50, though we both look in our 30s, and I think it's quite normal to want something adventurous at this age. Especially given what I have done for and with her. Shall I keep the peace and go with monogamy? Or push for equality in all things and have my fun? Too long didn't read after talking about being open. My wife of 17 years slept with a friend of mine. She fessed up. And I took it well enough. And before long we lived as a threesome for about 6 months. Now it's over and I'd quite like to take advantage of the agreement. But she says we aren't in an open relationship anymore, and there's no way on God's green earth she'd share me. But I didn't have anyone for myself when we were open. Tough luck. Too late. Classic. She saw how hurt you were and she doesn't want to feel that hurt too. Expected behavior from someone who disrespects her husband so that she can get her rocks off. My only question is, why are you with someone who clearly only cares about herself? She wanted to duck him, so she did. She wanted to move him, and so she did. She wanted to push you away, so she did. Now she wants to forget it, and you're learning for the first time that when you push back she loses it. I'd be miserable if I were you. Also, you should have seen this coming when she broke up with him because she couldn't have him all to herself. Selfish all the way through. You got cheated on. That feeds into why she refuses to let you partake of the same experiences she did. She knows she took it too far, and that the two of you remain together more by chance than choice. She assumes you'll do the same, but that the dice may roll the other way. From reading your post, I hope for your sake that it did. She says she never loved him. And it was never a romantic thing. I do believe that. This baffles me. How do you believe that? She ended her relationship with the other guy because he wouldn't be exclusive with her. The other guy? In yours and your wife's non-exclusive marriage. Whatever you decide, it's important that you understand the above. Do you think she won't share you because she is worried you will leave? Yes. I think she worries that I'll leave. But to me that casts me as pretty shallow. I try to reform the question to reflect her experience. Did she want to leave me? But the past is very touchy. This has to be fake. You have a blended family. Were the kids around watching mom's new boyfriend take your place? They are adult-aged now, but yes, they saw stuff. Second story. I am 27, found out my wife 25 female has been cheating on me online with a young guy 18 male, and I also just heard he's had conversations with our kids as well on voice call, doing impersonations of Sebastian the Crab from The Little Mermaid, and gave my daughter a nickname. Verified poster. She first started talking to this guy last year, when he was 17 and my wife 24. She became withdrawn, would let a lot of things slide, lose interest in her hobbies, the household, the kids, her friends, me. She admitted to me, in tears, that she had started chatting a guy from Ombel one night when bored. They had exchanged contact details. She made a Snapchat just for him, and so did he. They began chatting there regularly. This guy is handsome. He's young. He's an athlete and he's fit as can be. He's funny. He's awesome. He mesmerizes her. Makes her laugh all the time. She finds herself falling for him. And she admits her mistake to me. I am so sad and upset. But I forgive her. She promises to block him. Remove her app. Things are cool for a while, but months later I find out she still has Snapchat. She says it's for her other friends. I push the issue. Turns out she still talks to the guy. I am not okay with this. She says they are just friends. I tell her to block his ass. She says she does. Around December last year I discovered she never did block him. Still talks to him. I am so ducking mad. I break into her phone one day. See her Snapchat open and a message from him. I love you, it says. Scroll up more and see a picture of my own wife's breast staring me in the face. She sent him her 00 for his birthday. Once more she blocks the guy. I think things are fine, but I am starting to lose my feelings for my wife. One time around Christmas my oldest daughter tells me, excitedly, that she had a phone call with Sebastian the Crab. Like the buddy of Ariel the Little Mermaid from the Disney movie. I shrug it off. I mean, 4-year-olds make shit up all the time, right? And she has a very rich imagination. She constantly insists she's a real fairy or princess and claims to have magic powers and whatever. I find out just yesterday that my wife never stopped talking to the guy until this past February, when he suddenly ghosted her out of nowhere. Which makes sense because she was very sad and depressed at the time. She then deleted all her apps and accounts in anger. And now has no way of contacting the guy or being contacted by him. Not sure if I even believe that anymore. But sure. She was sharing all she did to me. Like she wanted it off her chest. I just let her talk and talk. And she admits to it all. Says she really fell in love with him. Mentions how she read a lot on Quora about polyamory. Quora is her ducking Bible. And that she feels like she can love multiple people at once. That her love for me has not diminished by loving another guy. I call bullshit. Then she admits she even had voice calls with the guys at night when I am away. I often work night shift. At times her oldest daughter would wake up and he'd talk to her too. He sang her to sleep a few times. And he pretended to be Sebastian the Crab. Which is what my daughter tried to tell me. She tried to tell on her mama, I think. But I shrugged it off. I am so insanely angry she would allow herself, as a grown woman, to fall for some boy on the other side of the globe. I am feeling betrayed by the fact that she showed her body to him. What makes me the most mad, however, is that he talked to my ducking daughter. He even saw her picture and a video. He called her Little Dua. Like the singer Dua Lipa, because he thinks she looks like a toddler version of that singer. The whole thing is so creepy. The fact that he was just 17 when my wife and him met online is creepy to me. The fact that she allowed him to talk to our firstborn daughter. It's all messed up. I fear she may have wanted to run off with the guy. She's talked a lot about the place he lives, California. And I am just weirded out by that. 2. I don't know what to do. I am heartbroken. My wife and I have a daughter. For another daughter. 2, and she is currently pregnant as well. She blames some of her behavior on pregnancy hormones, which is nonsense. She also tried to subtly push polyamory on me as well. I am so done with her. But I also love our daughters and do not want them to grow up in a broken home. She's gone back to normal in some sense. She does her hobbies. She cares for the kids and runs the household as before. She is sweet to me. At times. We make love often. But most of the time, as much as it pains me to say, I feel nothing. I am 27 years old. I felt last year that I had it all. I felt on top of the world. Now I feel like I already lost it. Too long didn't read my wife has had an intense online affair for months, and the guy even talked to my daughter, and gave her nicknames and did impressions for her, and now I am weirded out. OP, your wife lied to your face on 4 separate occasions about ceasing contact with this guy. Shared explicit photos. And allowed him to speak to your daughter. Only after he ghosted did she delete everything and express she still loves you. Obviously any semblance of trust between the two of you is gone. What happens if she gets bored and starts chatting with a different guy? The fact that it appears she feels she has done nothing wrong or only slightly wrong because she still loves you lots and lots is alarming. Do you think you will trust her again? If not, protect you and your daughter and start anew. Do you think you will trust her again? If not, protect you and your daughter and start anew. I don't believe I will ever be able to fully trust her again. She's hurt me too much with what she did. The awful thing is that I still love her in so many ways. I still love her mind. I still love her sense of humor. Her passion and her drive. I think she's an amazing mother. Or well, I used to think so. Right now I am not sure. I just don't know. But I don't think I can trust her anymore. And if I had the means and it was as easy as snapping my fingers, I'd have her leave by tomorrow. Thing is, I can't. My parents have busy careers. My siblings are busy too. No one could help me out in raising the kids if my wife was out of the picture. I want her out. But then what? Third story. My 31 male girlfriend 29 female slapped me in the face while because I was very drunk on one of her best friend's birthday party, and this had some major consequences. I browsed through Reddit a lot but never had an account. So this is my first post. My girlfriend and I have been together for 2.5 years. It can be challenging sometimes as we are very different from each other. But we always try to be better both as individuals, and as a couple we are both in therapy, and were married before. Well, a few days ago, we went to one of her best friend's birthday party, a very special event for her. I didn't want to go as I don't feel comfortable in that particular social circle. For context, this is related to me being bullied, feeling inferior in high school. But I felt like I had to be there for her. Anyway, I ended up having fun, but also drinking too much. Around 4 a.m., one of the security guards found me laying on the ground somewhere and told my girlfriend I needed help. We don't know what happened, she was drunk too, but supposedly she got mad at me for being that drunk and slapped me in the face. After that, I probably got angry and tried to leave the place, only to fall on my face and break my arm. Some people from the party tried to help me. She couldn't find me anymore and called my sister, who later found me laying on the side of the road, a few blocks from there. After she took me home, my girlfriend stayed at the party. She came home to see me around 6 a.m. and apologized. On the next morning, I didn't remember anything. So she proceeded to tell me everything she remembered and apologized again. She said I didn't do anything except for being very drunk, and that her friends reprehended her for slapping me. I was confused and in pain. So she took me to the hospital and spent the day taking care of me. She clearly feels very bad for hitting me, but not for staying at the party after I left with my sister. My sister and my parents are very worried about her behavior. I'm still in a lot of pain and don't know how I feel about all of this. I feel responsible for overdrinking, but I remember feeling helpless and abandoned when laying by the side of the road. And I certainly don't find it reasonable for her to have stayed at the party. I don't know how I feel about the relationship anymore. Advice. Too long didn't read my GF slapped me in the face during a party because I was too drunk. I fell and broke my arm trying to leave the place. My GF asked my sister to help her find me, take me home. Then stayed at the party until the end because she couldn't miss it. The drinking part aside, of which you seem to realize that drinking too much is never good. How would you react if, let's say, your sister was the one who got slapped by her boyfriend and he decided to stay behind and party with his friends after she went with you? Clearly hurting a lot. Sometimes it's easier to see what needs to be done if you look at it from another perspective. I just used the example of your sister since I thought that would be easiest for you to imagine. But seriously, who in their right mind would even do such a thing? Makes me wonder if your girlfriend truly loves you. Otherwise she would have dropped everything to make sure you were okay. So she slapped you because you were drunk. Which she was too apparently. Really only felt bad for slapping you once her friends yelled at her. Didn't care that you'd been seriously injured. And stayed to party for the rest of the night. I can't imagine a scenario where I'd stay with someone like that. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.